What's going on, everybody? All right, man. So you're a victim of a would-be crime. Some craziness happens, and you end up almost being abducted. You get chased, you're frightened, and you are petrified with what in the ham and cheese is going on. But at the end of the day, you end up being charged. You end up being blamed. And there's a lot of people that look like us that's doing all the doggone blaming. What in the world are we going to do? It's the JoJo Hill Show. Stay here.
It's the JoJo Hill Show.
All right, everybody, what's going on? This is your friend and brother Robert W. JoJo Hill, the servant, the artist, and the author. I'm in the building on the day. Yes. All right, man, listen. Now, I want to give you guys a quick update. No, let me say this. It's not going to be a quick update. Ain't no sense in me tricking y'all and saying no craziness like it's going to be fast and we going to jump on through this thing. That's not what's happening. Let me go ahead and just tell you guys what I consider some absolute foolishness and some doggone buffoonery. I think it's absolutely nuts. Now, here's the update. Now, apparently, my good friend April Mason, she talked about her cousin who was almost abducted. It's no other way of talking about it in any other way. She was almost abducted, almost jacked the crap up the other day. So the long and skinny is she was able to get away. She was not grabbed and snatched up and drug off no doggone where, but instead she was able to get away. She reports this stuff to the police, says, hey man, this is what the crap happened to me. So she does what's been told that you should do. Just go to the freaking police and tell. So, of course she does. She calls it in. Obviously, the police have a conversation with her. And at the end of the day, guess what happens? Absolutely nothing. So my girl April goes on and she talks about it, gets some attention. All of a sudden, bam, the people come out, I guess, and have a conversation. And then in some strange twist of fate, guess what happens? They blame the victim. Oh my goodness. So now at the end of the doggone day, the victim is now being blamed and being charged. Has been formally charged, according to the news that I saw some stuff in Atlanta, has been charged by the freaking police that she went to tell. Okay, now let me just give you guys a couple pieces here. We are dealing with not only systemic problems against us, we're dealing with internal problems too. Now, I'm really not surprised that the police would do something strange. I'm really not, because that's kind of what they do when it comes to people like us. This is what happens. This is what they do. They jack us up. Do y'all understand? We get jacked up by the freaking police. So here's the deal. The thing that jacked me up is when I started looking through and I would see, and I've been hearing YouTube stuff that's been popping on. I'm watching this stuff that's jumping through. Here's the thing that's freaking bananas. It's been mostly black dudes that's riding with the crap that the police have said. Do y'all understand this? See, I've been talking about this stuff for a long time. We're not dealing with men. We're dealing with boys. Let me tell y'all why I said that. When I look through some of these pieces, I'm seeing all these men who are saying things like, well, she should have did this. Well, the girl should have did this. Well, the police did say that this, and the videotape said this. I'm saying, wait a minute, hold on. These the same freaking people that in one breath says, F the police, and play that crap real loud on their doggone radio and talk about how jacked up and how systemically off this crap has been in regards to police and what we can't trust and all this crap. But then at the moment where any piece of information is presented from the very same enemy, from the same so-called enemy, it's like, well, we believe that because that's what they said. Hold on, man, what the crap are you talking about? We are dealing with a systemic piece of crap, and I'm telling y'all, this crap is off. Ladies, I've talked about this for a long time. What's happening is you're holding accountable people that you're considering to be men. These are not men. Let me say that doggone again. These are not men. You're not dealing with men. I'm almost embarrassed that someone would even identify and call this man. That's not a man. See, Men have a natural and instinctive, and I'm talking about us. When I say men, I'm talking about black men. I'm talking about us. Black men, we are to have a very specific instinctive nature when it comes down to the protection of the black woman. That's our gig. That's kind of what we do. What we do is this. If you're dealing, ladies, I'm telling y'all this flat out. If you are dealing with men or so-called men who are not doing these normalized things, let me submit this to you. Ladies, you are not dealing with men. You are dealing with boys. You are dealing with some doggone boys who've just had a very long history of multiple birthdays. It just means they had a lot of birthdays and they just became older boys, because men have a different and instinctive and distinct personality traits and characteristics. It's something that we just naturally do. So if you're constantly experiencing this, you have to understand that you're not dealing with a man. Do y'all understand what I'm saying to you? You're not. That's not what you're dealing with. You're dealing with something else. You're dealing with an immature old boy, because men think differently. So you say, okay, JoJo, how in the ham and cheese do I know that? You guys heard me talk about wisdom and what it means to have wisdom, to execute and use wisdom. What wisdom does is this. Wisdom gives you the ability to split differences. So you say, JoJo, what the crap does that mean? How can you split a difference? You can split a difference because you have a very solid understanding of this thing doing this and the other one doing something else. If you cannot extract and notice that you are dealing with a person who doesn't share the characteristics of someone ratchet, who doesn't share the characteristic of someone whack, who doesn't share the characteristics of someone who bashes men, if you're talking about somebody who doesn't jack up the structure of what we should be, and you still comparatively place them with someone who rips them apart, you are not wise. So this is what it is. Wisdom gives you the ability to tell the difference between what's a good one and what's a bad one. But if you don't have that information, you can't properly discern which one is which. You're going to place them all in the same doggone basket. I heard a guy, it was a guy that was on YouTube saying some very interesting stuff. I don't remember the guy's name, but it was just very interesting listening to his take and perspective. And he was talking about how women don't deserve it, or how do they deserve, or why should they deserve protection from the black man. I want y'all to think about the concept of that. What would make a man say that in relationship to a woman? What would make him say that? What would cause his thinking to be reflective of that? It can only be that if he was never trained by a real man to think in the context of a man. See, I said this earlier and I thought it was just absolutely fantastic. I thought it was fantastic because I think I'm dope as crap. But here's the deal. A lion can teach another lion the traits of a lion, but a lion cannot teach a zebra the internal and this instinctive nature of a lion. He can't do that because the zebra doesn't have the components. What's been happening, ladies, I'm just going to tell y'all what the crap it is. What's been happening is you're getting these boys, these so-called men. They're not men, these are boys, just grown boys. And you're holding them at a level of accountability that is reserved for that of a matured man. And you keep getting surprised when you're not getting the results of that because you're not dealing with somebody you're not even dealing with somebody that have the components for that. They don't even think it. So if a dude can say, well, what does she do to deserve my protection? What? That's not even a natural instinctive thought process that a man would generate. We don't naturally do that. We naturally protect. That's our thing. So if you have a dude that's not doing that, ladies, please understand me. You're not dealing with men. You're dealing with a very old, multiple birthday boy. That's what the ham and cheese you're dealing with. You're not dealing with no doggone man. See, it's a different and distinct characteristic. And I noticed this because when I looked at what happened with Ape's cousin, I'm like, man, what would make the officers do that? What would make the officers think, even in lieu of having all these cases that are constantly pending concerning people getting jacked up, people getting drug off and all that. What would cause them to do that? They can do it because they don't instinctively want to cover or protect. Because somewhere in their equation, these are not men either. It's a natural characteristic, especially with black men. We naturally protect. That's what we do. That's our thing. Now watch this, guys. The mind of our men have been so negatively affected by the culture. It's shifted what's all the masculine stuff out of a man. It's become something different. Now we're dealing with a completely different type of dude. It's something else. It's a different energy. So the things that he should do to help and shield and protect, he doesn't. It's not natural for him because it's been replaced with something else. It's been replaced with these other parts that's now tearing down the very fabric of how men are supposed to act. So guess what's happening? Guess what the ladies gonna do? Y'all gonna do it for sure. It's no question about it. Y'all gonna do it just as sure as I am a black dude sitting on this doggone camera. What y'all are gonna do, y'all are gonna start seeking alternative options because the other options seem to work out better in terms of how it protects. It's just a matter of time. I've been talking about this forever. Anything that you leave uncovered out of position, it will ultimately be replaced with something else. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. We've got a whole generation of so-called men that are being held accountable by women, right? But the men ain't men. They're boys. Do y'all understand? You can't even hold them accountable. You cannot do that. Because if you're going to expect them to handle themselves in a certain kind of way, but they're not. They don't have the information. People say, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how they're raised. Dude, it does matter how they're raised. They don't have the information. The information is not in there. Do you guys remember on The Lion King when Mufasa was teaching Simba how to hunt? He was like, get down low. He was like, get down low. Get down low. Now get very still. Get very quiet. And he was showing him how to crawl through the grass, showed him how to prowl. He taught him that, and even when Mufasa died and was gone, at a cellular level, Simba still had the DNA and the structure of a hunting lion. See, we've confused alley cats with lions. So then it's no wonder why these dudes would get online and say, well, what makes a woman deserve to be protected? What the crap are you talking about? You think that the woman doesn't deserve to be protected. See, that's an issue that's extremely cellular. It's a very deeply seated issue. Let me show you this. If you have a boy who grows up, who's never learned to value or have value or worth in relationship to a woman, here's what's going to happen. That boy, anytime a situation is presented where he should protect, he won't if he's never got the information. But if he receives the information early, it will systemically happen. So it's not about what did she do for me? Is she going to bang the crap out of me if I protect her? That don't got nothing to do with it. It doesn't do that. It has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with if she's doing anything to merit that protection, because the protective part will be instinctive in the mind of a man. I remember watching my dad watch the way he would take care of my mom. It was one day, and I was telling April about this earlier. It was one day, I remember my father was sitting in the dining room and my sister was in the kitchen, and she climbed up on a chair and she went to stand up on the counter. My dad is sitting in the dining room eating. My sister, she steps up on the counter and she was trying to get something off the top of the cabinet, right? And when she reached up there, she started to fall. I heard my father's fork hit the plate, and before I could see anything, my father had ran from the dining room, ran through the kitchen, and as my sister was falling, he caught her. Boom, it looked like Superman. It looked like some doggone cartoon junk. My father caught her and he started laughing. He said, baby, you gotta be careful, honey, you gotta be careful. And my sister was grown. She wasn't a little kid. This is my eldest sister. My father caught her and he said, you gotta be careful. He just set her down and then he went back in and kept eating. Now, watch this. As a boy, information was being burned into my psyche as it relates to that. So when it came down to the instinctive protection of a woman, right? I had it and didn't even realize the why. It was just instinctive. Now let's flash back 40 years. Let's flash back 50 years. We've completely disintegrated the concept of the man learning from another man. It's been replaced. It's been all these things, all this propaganda that shattered the whole image and tore it all apart. So when you get, now we're in 2019, a black woman walking down the street in danger can't even think that she's going to be protected because the dudes say things like, well, man, I mean, what she do for me? How come what she do to merit my kind of protection? What she do, I mean, how I'm going to protect her? What she do for me? No, man, that's off. The entire layout of that crap is off. It has to be instinctive. Ladies, you can't hold these people accountable if they don't have the instinctive nature. They have the instinctive nature of a boy or of a immature man. These are not mature men. You're gonna always be off, and you're gonna always be disappointed because you're holding them at a level of accountability that these mugs do not have. They don't have that. You got to understand it's always going to be different. There's a complete difference. It's a difference. What I've learned, and when I was looking through some of these pieces, they're talking about, well, I mean, they ain't loyal to me. Man, what the crap you mean? There's a loyalty that happens that is not, okay, check this out. Let me say it this way. Let me say it another way. You can be loyal to someone because of the reflection of what they are. They look like you. They have what you have. Instead of there being a massive disconnect, there has to be a reconnection with what we are at a cellular level, at the base level of how we think. Now, let me say this at the outset. I'm not talking about people that just consistently go out and make terrible decisions and just keep putting you in a jacked up scenario. Because people say, well, why should I go out there and risk my life? I heard this crap. Why should I go out there and risk my life? Dude, when have you went out there and risked your life for these people? You haven't. You don't even think it instinctively. It's not something that naturally even comes out of you. But you say that because you don't, first of all, want to do that, because you don't have the information inside that causes you to do that. So when I looked at this story, I thought it was freaking insane. The girl is going in to tell what happened to her. And she's saying, this is what happened. This is my story. This is what they did. This is the danger that I sensed. But you're gonna try to minimize the overall danger and concern, and you're gonna try to squeeze it down to something that you can see that will ultimately save your department. I thought that was nuts when I saw on the news that this girl was walking in, turning herself in to the police department. I'm like, wait, ain't that the girl that was getting chased? Ain't that the person that was in danger? Isn't that the person that feared for her freaking life? What in the ham and cheese just happened? What just happened? What happens is you have a culture that has lost the value of these women. So they don't even think of it like that. They're like, whatever happens, happens. Yeah, we'll get to it whenever. We'll make it happen. We'll see. Yeah, just go ahead and fill out this. Let me give you some ambiguous and broad term that doesn't protect you whatsoever. This is this is some dangerous stuff. The black man today is a commodity. Let me say this to you. Let me explain what that means. If you have 1,000 people all trying to acquire 10 items, you're going to have a serious problem. This is why we hear things like, where are all the good black men? This is why we hear that. Where are they at? They're not being raised. They're not being bred. They're not being groomed, man. We're dealing with a completely different context. You don't have a surplus of the black man. This is why it's so many single black women. How often and how long have we been talking about this stuff on the show? We've been talking about it for a very long time. And we're just seeing these ripple effects. And understand, we're going to see more of them. We'll see multiple effects as time goes on. We'll see more things like that. You'll see where it's not a shielding and protection of the kids. It's not a shielding and protection of women. Obviously, we're seeing that currently. We see it right now. We see this. People are not tying in, nor are they buying into the idea of the overall protection of the black woman. So what do you think is going to happen? Of course, the woman going to say, well, I got to be a strong woman. Of course she's going to say that. Of course she has to. I don't think that she should, but the problem, as I've stated for years, I put the blame on the man. Because you can't have a multitude of women who feel like they have to be in the position of the man if the man was actually in position. Isn't that something? It's just the way it works. We have internal issues. It's internal things that happens with us. I had a situation with at the store last summer, and there was a black guy that was like the manager at the store, and he clearly has issue with other black people. And we had a couple issues. And from that time, I haven't really been saying anything to the guy. So the other day, I was in the store on Thanksgiving, and I saw the guy in there, and he walked past me. He didn't say anything. So I went back in, I got his attention. I said, "Say, man, let me talk to you for a second." I said, "Man, how hypocritical is it of us if we look like this? We look like this, and out here where we are, we look like a raisin in a bowl of doggone vanilla ice cream." I said, "You have issue with someone who looks just like you. That's a problem. We have to address that. We have to deal with that, and we have to get that thing squashed." And so ultimately, after a couple seconds of talking, we gave each other a pound. "Hey, man, it's all good." He apologized. "Hey, man, I hate that this thing is like this." And he said, "Just think of how many conversations that I've missed after speaking with you after all this time going through this thing." And I said to him, "This is because we have an issue with us. It's a self-image issue." And I thought about that in relationship to this story. The people who've been attacking this girl and even on ape stuff have been people that look like us. It haven't been a bunch of white people saying it. It hasn't been a bunch of Asians on our page saying, "Well, hey, what makes you think that you deserve to be protected?" Nobody says this crap but us. Do y'all understand? This is a serious deficiency. And I thought the thing that I thought was so incredibly weird about it, that they were willing to cast their lots and tie in to what the cops said rather than the sister. Man, listen, what the crap do y'all think would have happened if Cynthia was a white woman and she reported to the police that 3 black men was chasing her? Do you think that those police would say, "Well, are you sure?" They wouldn't say that crap at all. They would immediately believe it was true. And it would be an all-out point bulletin. They would have the car out there. They would have all this stuff, and they would be going absolutely ham about that situation. They would. But because she's a black woman, they know that our culture, our men has ultimately left the black woman uncovered. So they know that there's no consequence. See, anytime that you don't have a consequence, I'm telling you, if you don't have a relatable consequence, they're not going to change anything. Instead, they'll make her be the victim. I thought it was nuts when I saw that thing on the news the other day. That girl was being taken into a police station with an attorney because she told what happened to her. I want you to think about that. You go into the police to say, "Hey, man, these dudes tried to steal my car. I seen them out there. They was probing around the car. They bust one of the windows out." And the police say, so let me see your driver's license there, buddy. And they arrest you for reporting the fact that somebody was trying to steal your car. Tell me that that's not a freaking problem. It's a problem because they know that there's no ultimate consequence to that crap. But we have to have a sense of protection. It's no way that a black woman should be able to walk down the street and see me and get fear in her heart. She should feel comfort in her heart when she sees me. I've talked about this stuff for many, many, many years. If you look at me, you're supposed to find in your mind, okay, I'm going to be cool. Why? Because I see somebody who looks like me. You shouldn't have to fear that crap. And it shouldn't be dudes online talking craziness. What makes you feel like you should be protected? What the crap? What? I can't even process how insane that concept is. That's absolutely insane because we're dealing with people who are not men. This is the characteristic of boys. This is what they are. Now listen to this. We've been programmed very specifically to reject our own selves. It's very deep. It's very deep. It's like it's something that happened where instead of us looking at ourselves as the safety and the place of synergy, we don't. We reject people that look like us. So when a woman says, "I'm unprotected and I don't feel safe," instead of someone saying, "Man, I should do whatever it takes to help you feel safe as a group, they blame the person that doesn't feel safe. This is distorted thinking. That's off. That is off, off, off. What you got to remember, you're not dealing with men. Only a boy would do that. An immature person would do that. A mature man wouldn't think like that. It's not the wiring. I'm going to say this crap until y'all doggone heads explode. It's not the wiring of a man that does that. A man naturally and instinctively provides and protects. That's what we do. And if you're dealing with people who are not doing that, you're not dealing with men. So knock it off. Don't even hold them accountable to that. You're not dealing with men. It's somebody else. It's a completely different dynamic. We have very, very, very old boys, and we have very few men. But it's men out here, ladies. Don't trip. It's men out here, and they are available. It's gonna be distant though. I can't trick you. I ain't gonna tell you something else. It's gonna be far and few between, or few and far between. But they're out there. It's not impossible. But the way that we begin to re-engage it or fix that issue, you have to fix it at a base level. And what's the base level? They have to be trained by men to be men. You can't expect a boy to grow up to be a man or have the thinking of a man if he doesn't have the interaction of a man or with a man. It just doesn't work that way. I wish it was something different. I wish it was some kind of potion or some type of crap that they could drink that would automatically make them do that, but it doesn't. It's not the way it works. It doesn't work like that. You have to get the information from a man. It has to come from a man. Idealistically, you would like it to come from the man who that boy's face looks like. Idealistically. Now, what does that mean? That means now you have to begin to train a whole nother generation to value themselves highly enough that they keep themselves in a position so when they procreate with somebody that they actually like. So by the time the child is born, they're not dealing with somebody that don't look like them. And then they're rejecting them psychologically. They see them and they don't accept what they're saying to them. They reject them. Do you follow me? Because the way it can be fixed, the way that it has to be fixed at this point, we got to get it from the root to the doggone fruit. We got to flip it all the way back around and start teaching it from the ground. No matter how much Simba hung out with that doggone warthog and that little weasel thing, he could not get the information of a doggone lion. He couldn't get it. He could only get it when he saw himself and he saw his true self or his father in him. He saw the image of that man or that lion in him. Now he stopped being an alley cat and he started being a man. All right, guys, so I want to hear what you guys think. I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Make sure you guys click like and share, comment, do all that stuff for me. But man, please, this victim shaming foolishness all the way out there in doggone Georgia is some absolute foolishness. Y'all are insane for charging that doggone girl after she comes in there to tell what happened. You can't concentrate all that stuff down to a freaking in-store video. They like the guy that's chasing her is going to be like, hey, yeah, I'm coming in here to snatch somebody up. So let me go over there and show myself on camera as being aggressive. They're not going to do that on no doggone tape. Get the crap out of here. We're dealing with a whole nother culture, man. I want you guys to understand it's something else that we have to embrace and employ. That thing comes from a different place inside. You cannot expect the behavior of a man to come from the mind of a freaking boy. All right, y'all, this is your friend and brother Robert W. JoJo here, serving the artist and the author. I want you guys to be encouraged, be empowered. Most of all, guys, be enlightened. The servant, spoken. I'm out.
It's the JoJo.